Hello and welcome to Attacking Third, your favorite women's soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, joined alongside Darian Jenkins and Jen Beattie. We are going to get into everything she has been up to. Don't worry. But before we get into that, we just want to say hi, hello, and welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have a NWSL Week 12 look ahead. We have an interview with San Diego Waves General Manager Cammie Ashton. And of course, we just want to thank everyone for joining us here on Attacking Third. Whether you're joining us live on YouTube or watching on Golazo Network or just listening to us as a podcast, we're just happy that you're here. Let us know how you're feeling about the games ahead this weekend. Drop us a little love in the chat. Say hello to us all. And of course, you absolutely have to say congratulations to Jen Beattie, who has returned as a TST champion. Jen, woo. How's it going? How you feeling? Are you feeling like $1 million winner? Let us.
I'm feeling great, guys. Like, I haven't taken this shirt off yet. What a week. I had the absolute best time. It was obviously I retired last season, but to get a taste of football again, surrounded by the absolute best group of people, honestly, staff and players, was so much fun. And to get the win for those guys to go two back to back, I just had the best time. Honestly, it was so fun being back on the pitch again, training every day. It was fun to feel like a footballer again, and nice winning.
I love it. I gotta say, Jen, and maybe you could back me up on this. Attacking Third is so up. Like get in, tap in. Like between Lo Lobata getting like her call up, making her debut, you going off the TST, winning the million. Honestly, shout out to McCall Zerboni, our other Attacking Third colleague, like making it to the final with Bumpy Pitch FC. I'm just like, what an incredible start to the summer. Look at these two, Jenny and McCall Zerboni. These are the perks. These are the perks when you join us live. You get to see the photos.
That's what was so fun about the whole tournament, though. I'll be honest, like not just meeting people for the first time ever, but mainly like reconnecting with players that you've either played with or against. I was so surprised the amount of people I actually knew there, and that made it so fun just connecting with people. Obviously, Carly and Lloyd and I played at Man City years ago, and then an old teammate from Montpellier back when I was 22 was playing in Bumpy Pitch, so we connected at the final. So it was just so much fun. And that's honestly what I love about football. And the concept of the game, guys, like, come on, you watched it, right? How fun. It is so much fun.
It's like exactly what you want to play every day. Like 7v7, it's a lot of goals. It's whatever. It's not that serious, but it's not that serious. But Jen, did you buy everybody around with your $1 million? Was that the first thing you did? What? First of all, did you do that? And what's going to be your first like splurge when you guys finally get your payout?
As soon as the game was done, I was like, right, what beers, everyone? What's happening? I went straight back into retirement mode. So no, we're renovating a house right now, so that's probably where it's going to go into. So I was very happy to get a little cut. But no, I think the fact that it was such an incredible prize winning was just so fun. Again, credit to the tournament for investing that amount in it. But yeah, no, probably save a little bit. A fair chunk goes to the tax man as well, which always sucks.
Oh yeah.
But no, it was the absolute best week, and for us to kind of share that moment as a team, my goodness, the college girls got us through. They were awesome. So much talent coming through. They were a joy to train with every day and see them go and thrive. Like some of them aren't even in college yet. So to see the talent come through. But yeah, that was really fun. But honestly, you are spot on, Darian. Like how fun at the end of training every single day. The most fun was playing the 5v5 or the 7v7 or the games at the end. And then when the coach goes, right, next goal's the winner, that's pretty much what target time was like. So every game ended on a goal. So it always ended on this like massive high, which was just so fun. Obviously, we were on the better side of it every time, which made it a little bit more fun. But still, that concept felt like a kid again. I loved it.
You know,
big fan of 7v7s.
We were chatting a little bit about it in the earlier show this week. Myself, Lisa Carlin, and Aaron West, because I think that's one of the key takeaways out of TST is just the fun of it and just the environment. Aaron West was in the stands, like talking about taking in that tournament just as like a viewer, just like as someone in the audience there for the sports entertainment aspect of it.
Yeah.
And just kind of how like these concepts of like 7v7s or smaller side kind of tournaments are kind of like a rising trend. Like we saw the World Sevens as well, like at the club, and we got to see it in a different way, like at the club level. And now just how TST has kind of become this annual event. And so I kind of threw it out there where I was like, how can like maybe domestic leagues like keep getting in on this action, and like what could it be for NWSL? And I kind of threw out there, and I just want to like give both of your perspectives on this. I kind of threw out there like maybe this isn't something that we would see like run concurrent alongside like a regular season, because like the regular season like is what it is in NWSL. But I was like, what if like 7v7 for like an all-star game or something like that?
That would be sick. Sandra, I think you're cooking up something smart. No, you would have a lot of people sign up for that.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a market for it. I couldn't agree more with my biggest takeaway from it, and I kept saying this to friends and family, is it was the perfect balance between so much fun and really competitive. And I think we all got that every day. And the staff were incredible at that, where it was head coach Kendall, Jill Mead, Leslie Osborne, all these guys that have come back into the mix. And
stacked.
Yeah, it was just this, they made it the best experience, but when we switched on and we wanted to win. So it was this like awesome balance between, we were having so much fun, the concept of the game was so much fun, but it was really competitive at the same time and everyone wanted to win. But yeah, it was awesome. And you're spot on, Sandra. There's definitely going to be more of this in the future, and seeing the success of TST as well. The attendances go up this year. Everyone enjoy it. Everyone tuning in. It being shown on major networks as well, so the exposure is there for it. And yeah, the start of Club World Cup as well. It's definitely a thing for the future, for sure. So if anyone,
Jen,
I could do it again, I would.
Hey, bring me along. Wrexham reached out, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I think I was booked for something already. And now, especially after watching this last one, I'm like, I want to join next year. But I want to give a shout out to Crimson Pizza in the chat, because they asked, was there a scandal in Scotland after seeing Jen Beattie playing for US Women? Was there?
You know what? I was maybe half expecting one, but I think everyone was so buzzing to just have a Scot there and probably represent like US and be teammates with these incredible people. Nah, the Scotsman in true Scottish self were so happy for me. Got a fair few messages on Instagram and stuff from the Scots back home. So yeah, I didn't get any wrath. So I was very happy. Thanks to all the Scottish fans. Yeah, they're awesome. They're the best.
Okay, so you would do it again, Jen. Yeah. Darian's like, I would reconsider. I would do it. Look, again.
Put me in, coach.
Rising trends, and I'm here for it, because I'm already over here like high on attacking third. Like, this is the summer of attacking third. Like, let's continue that next year as well. Like, let's get more of our colleagues in the mixer for sure. We are gonna keep it moving. I mean, look, TST is dominated, I feel like, the conversation a little bit from this week, just because of all of the excitement that it generates, and of course, because one of our own is a special winner. So I love that we've been showing it so much love. But we got to pivot, because there are a ton of games in NWSL across this weekend, some which you can find on Paramount Plus, CBS. Make sure you tap in. One of those games is actually going to be Houston Dash versus San Diego Wave. You could tune in and watch that on Golazo and also on Paramount Plus, kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we were really, really hyped about talking about this particular match, that so much to the point that we were actually going to have General Manager Cami Ashton come on the show, talk a little bit about San Diego Wave and a little bit of their turnaround, because we're seeing them do some incredible stuff on the pitch. But turns out we just have to issue a congratulations. Instead, she will not be joining us. So sorry for everyone who's tuning in live for this moment, but she's got a great reason. Cami Ashton has just gone into labor. Breaking news. She's letting us know that we could share that, and she is looking forward to joining us all in the future. Congratulations.
Wow.
Yo, congratulations. My God. Going into labor right now, like calm, cool, collected. She's still working. Like props to Cami.
Yeah.
Imagine going into labor, but still being like, oh, by the way, I can't do the interview. Like, I'd for sure just be not turning up. I'd be like, I'm just going to the hospital. Yeah. So,
yeah, just
incredible.
Well, that's going to allow us to just like hop right into this game a bit. Let's take a look at where I want to start with the Houston Dash side of things in this one. This is a team that is coming off of what was probably a pretty painful result last week. We're talking keeping an elite Orlando Pride side scoreless through ultimately 90 minutes. And then at the death, Corey Dyke getting the game winner for Orlando Pride. That's got to resonate with you as a team. There's a huge opportunity here in front of them as they go up against San Diego Wave, a team that has obviously at this point, heading to the halfway point of the season, we can all kind of confidently say they've turned a corner. They are a team to compete with. They bring it week in and week out. Darian, for you, what are some of those key things that you're looking for Houston to try to put up another one of these good performances against a really good team in the league?
So it was tough. Their last game against Orlando Pride wasn't a poor game on Houston's behalf at all. They actually looked much stronger defensively. I thought Abby Smith stood on her head. She had 7 saves against the Pride. And I think when you have a keeper showing out like that in a match, it makes you want to be in lockstep and just be a warrior in the back line. I think we saw that. And unfortunately, that goal from Corey Dyke, shout out to her, but it was a deflection that led to the goal from the shot. They need to build on that confidence that they can lock out a top-tier team going into this next match, because San Diego Wave has their vulnerabilities. If I'm Houston, I'm looking at, okay, San Diego gave Seattle 2 goals from the top of the 18. Nobody truly applying pressure, nobody getting in their face, not allowing them to, not forcing them to push the ball wide. They gave them space at the top of the 18. So if I'm a Yasmin Ryan, whoever's in that front line, Messiah Bright, Michelle Lozia, go shoot your shot from distance, because San Diego has showed that they're very vulnerable defensively. Sure, they're crazy going forward, but I still think that they're young and not fully locked in their defensive shape, because they are so aggressive and possessive heavy up top. So I think that there's a big chance for Houston. I think it's going to be an interesting game, but Houston I don't want them to lose the confidence that they showed for 97 minutes against Orlando Pride, because there's still a chance. They're not far from that playoff line. We do this every year with Houston. They need to have consistency, at least defensively, to maintain that.
For you, Jen, on the other side of things here, for San Diego, I mean, maybe we could say a little bit of similar energy compared to where they were, a week ago. Dropped maybe a little bit of a nail biter, a tactical nail biter against Seattle Reign, a 2-1 loss. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, these are 2 teams coming off of losses out of last week. They want to go into this one with the mindset that they're going to snatch all three points here. But if you're San Diego, and maybe you know that about yourself at this point in the season, that there also are some vulnerabilities. Is it as simple as just kind of tightening those things up, or is there something specific you're looking for San Diego this weekend, Jen?
I honestly, I don't think it's anything super specific. I think, Darian hit the nail on the head. It was long range shots. And when you're looking at that, especially as a backline, I'm thinking, right, that is as simple as putting pressure on the ball. That's not got anything to do with shape. That's not got anything to do with your press or it being played through. That's a case of midfielders, 6s, centre backs putting pressure on the ball. And so to answer your question, I think it is maybe actually a pretty straightforward fix for them. They have been on an incredible run, right? We've all seen the quality of the Wave this season from last season. And I think losing, their first game in 7 matches, I think it was, they will want the bounce back. And I think that's what's going to be hard for the Dash, because the Wave are going to want to get back to this form. So you can look at it either way. You can look at it for Dash saying, right, okay, the Wave have got their weakness. They've just had their first loss. Let's take advantage of that. We lost really narrowly to the Pride. We can go on, and if we're tight-knit it again, we can go and get a result. But when's the hardest time to face a top team? When they've just lost. They will want the biggest bounce back. They will have had a solid week of training where they've just had their first loss in a while. They will have been tightening up on exactly where they need to do. So I fear a little bit for the Dash in that sense, knowing that the Wave have got the quality. We've seen it so much with Cascarino and Leon. firing as a front third. Do I think they can bounce back from their loss? Yes. So I fear for the Dash a little bit in that sense.
Darian, you think that the Dash has it in them. So I'm curious if, you know,
I think there's a chance.
You think there's anybody's got a chance.
Anybody's got one.
I do wonder, like you've laid out some good stuff here about like maybe the opportunities that are in front of them and how they can get there. Who are the players though? Like who's a player, one or two even, that you think for the Dash are going to be the ones to kind of lead the way in making sure they get those 3 points?
Yo, my money's still on Yasmin Ryan. We haven't gotten 2024 Yaz with the Dash yet, because I think she's one of those players like an Ally Sentinel, even we're throwing Utah again. Shout out to Utah. I'm there. That's why there's horns behind me, guys. But she's one of those players. I think she's asked to do so much more than she should. Whether it's defensively, asked to be a leader in ways that I don't know are her bread and butter. Whereas with Gotham, she got to be very fluid in the way she moved. She got to come to the back line. She got to play in the midfield. She got to sit as a winger, be a false nine, and just really just be very creative on the ball. So I think if Houston can be very strong defensively, they can keep that from last week against Orlando and get Yaz on the ball in spaces where she can be creative, where she can combine with a Messiah Bright or somebody else that's up top that's lethal, that you know exactly what you're going to get from Messiah. She's going to hold the ball up. She's going to lay it off. She's going to go run in behind and look to go 1v1. Simplifying the game in that way, but allowing Yaz to be very creative is going to be the key for Houston, because I think San Diego, again, the vulnerabilities in the back. And if you can be a little bit unpredictable with that, with how good Yasmin Ryan is, that's going to be effective for them. And hey, if they read that, they shut down Yaz, that opens up those long range shots. That opens up a lot of pockets of space. So to me, I think she's the charm for them going forward.
I think that's a good shout for a player to kind of help turn it around for Houston. I mean, as far as what can actually happen in this game, let's have some fun. Let's make a little bit of a prediction here. Jen, what do you think this game's going to boil down to? Who's going to get the goals? Is there going to be a fun scoreline in this one?
I think this game's going to boil down to San Diego Wave coming off the back of a loss and having fire in their bellies and wanting to go big on this one. I'm going to go 3-0. I think it's a pretty high scoring game for the Wave. I'm gonna go bounce back for them.
You think the Wave are gonna mollywop Houston?
Yeah.
Woo. All right, I'm here for it.
Maggie Graham though, the 22-year-old for Dash.
Yeah.
I think she's been a standout. Had I think 3 goals this season already. For being 22 in this league to be consistently, showing up. But I would watch out for her. She's awesome.
Right on. How about you? Do you got 4-0? What's going on?
Yeah, 4-0 to Houston Dash. No, that might be my worst prediction I've ever made. I'm gonna go. I'm thinking. I wish I would have brought up Avery Patterson earlier as well, because she loves the long range shot off of both feet. I'm gonna go 2-1.
Ooh,
Houston.
All right.
I don't know. I'm feeling the orange. I don't know what it is.
I love it. Be bold. Be brave, my friend.
What are you saying, Sandra? What's yours?
Listen, it's tough out there in Houston.
Yeah.
And I know this is more like an evening game, but you're still gonna feel that heat. I've had to cover my fair share of games out in Houston around these kind of late summer nights, and it still feels pretty warm as it does in the early afternoon. So I can't imagine that that's not going to play some bit of a factor. Although both of these teams, I don't think will. They both understand that they're two teams that have to play in the same thing. So I don't know if we're going to get that big kind of blowout. I think maybe we could get something a little bit more narrow. I'm also feeling a 2-1 in this one as well, but I'm going to go the Wave. I think they're going to be chomping at the bit. I think Kenza Dali is going to be a little bit frustrated with how they left that game against Seattle, especially how the goals came. Not shutting down a little bit in time, maybe leaving just enough space for some of these shots to get off. And she's used to covering a lot of ground. And this will be a challenge, I think, for the French international. She's definitely going to get introduced to some good old-fashioned Texas weather for sure. But I think there's enough there for San Diego to kind of pull things off. And I think they're going to get the bounce back as well. 2-1. And I want to see Cascarino get on the score sheet again. I think she's quietly putting together
Baller.
an MVP caliber season. So we'll see if it continues in Houston for her. We've got more games to discuss across week 12. Make sure you tune back in after a quick break. All right, we are back, and there's plenty more to chat about in NWSL. This is just a little funny to me because it's just like even the best laid plans sometimes go awry, right? Like we're gonna like chat all about San Diego, and then boom, we're gonna welcome GM Cammie, but she's got bigger, better things to deal with right now. So we're going to keep it moving with all of the games that are happening across this weekend. Friday night is not just going to be San Diego and Houston going head to head. It's going to be Utah Royals and Gotham. There's going to be Bay FC and Orlando, who we've brought up already in regards to that Houston game. So as far as maybe of these four teams going head to head, maybe let's start with Utah and Gotham in this one. Talking about bounce backs. Does Gotham have it in them? Is this the point of the season where maybe there's some panic that's settling in, Darian?
Absolutely, because we saw a bunch of players go down in their last game. I think there's a lot of question of injuries, of whoever's questionable that went down. And I'm looking at Midge Purse. I think Jace looked exhausted from the last match. I can't remember who else went down, but players that I think we were really high on coming back into the NWSL after the CONCACAF W Champions Cup that I don't know will be there against Utah. And to me, Utah, shout out Utah, is one of the more unpredictable teams where they sometimes play so really beautiful football, especially building out of back. They have these really aggressive but concise passes going forward that break lines, especially when you have a goalkeeper like Mandy McGlynn. But then they put themselves in a lot of trouble and concede a lot of goals. So I actually think this is going to be a fairly open game because Gotham are trying to figure out a lot. I don't think we know they don't have the depth that they had last year. That was very evident against Kansas City. I don't think they had much of an answer. Yes, Kansas City went to a low block and they were creating chances from that by sending in crosses. But other than that, there wasn't much there. So if I'm Utah, this is a huge opportunity to knock down a team that's won the NWSL championship and to set yourselves ahead going into the second half of the season. But Jen, do you think Gotham has it in them to turn this around after that beating from Kansas City?
I think they're in a really, really tough place. I'll be honest. I think to go from champions in 2024 or 3 to that be like quite a quick turnaround. I don't know. I just think the players that they let go after last season, Biondolo, I just think they've left a lot of experience go. And I think now you're seeing the result of that. And it's kind of, over almost halfway through the season, sitting far too low on the table for their likes whatsoever. Do I think they've got it in them to beat Utah? Yes. We would have said that at any point in the season, but based on performances so far, I'm worried for them. And they should be themselves. They're nowhere near the kind of quality or results. I think you always worry whether it's points or performance, but for them it's both. Nothing's clicking. That they don't look like the team they were. And I think they are. Their depth is huge in football, especially if you want to play in multiple tournaments. You have to be able to rotate. And if you're saying fatigue at this point in the season, Darian, like what you described, you're nowhere near playoffs yet. You still got a lot of football to be played. So what do? Do you start preserving players now, rest them a little bit more, make more substitutions, rotate more? And then if you don't have the depth, how do you even go about doing that? So they're in a really difficult spot. And I think, I've said this multiple times now for them, every game's a must game win. You have to get back to, but if you're looking at this game, Utah, for sure, because you have to be looking at teams around you in the ladder being like, if we're going to climb, it has to be the teams around us in the ladder that we take points off. So if they don't do it this weekend, I would start. We're already worried about them. Do I think they can still do it? Yes, because they still have quality in the team. I've loved watching Midge Purse coming back from injury. I think she's been such a threat going forward and just spikes that bit of energy. She's obviously been out for a long time. So to see her back in the lineup, Jay-Z as well is finding form. Interesting game for them, but look, they have to win. They really do. They have to get 3 points on the board.
It's interesting looking at these two teams because you made such good points, Jen, and I'm thinking, it's definitely a must-win for Gotham, but it would be a big win for Utah to turn around another very questionable first half of a season. But Sandra, who do you think has more chemistry between these two teams? I'm looking at Utah and thinking sometimes we see it. Gotham, I don't know if I see it that much, but sometimes, maybe once in a while, a couple of them feel like they have it. But I want to know for you, who do you think has more chemistry?
It almost sort of feels like, in that regard, that these two teams are on equal footing in that sense. It just sort of feels like with the constant balancing act of player rotation and injury management for Gotham, it's almost like we, even 11 weeks in, going into 12 weeks into the season, it's almost like we haven't actually really seen who they could be or the gear that they could hit in 2025. And then for Utah, similarly, the results haven't been there for them, and having to manage an injury to Tanaka pretty early on, I think, was casually devastating in a way, because I think this was a player that they were pretty high on. But to their credit, their midfielders are in form, and I feel like Utah is showing some really promising things there in that middle third, as far as when they win and when they do not decide to kind of spearhead attacks and things like that. So I wonder if this is one of those games where it's going to come down to that middle third. I think it's for that reason, though, that I'm still not counting Gotham out, because there's something dangerous about a team that knows they have another level and another gear to hit. And I think I echoed this on our previous episode, you never want to look at a team and say that their end all be all is on one player. But when you have a Rose Lavelle coming in for just 15 minutes and making an impact that quickly, it makes you kind of question and doubt yourself. Even as an analyst, you're just like, oh, well, maybe that might just be what it is or what is necessary for Gotham. So, I was looking for a bounce back from this team. They're coming off that inaugural Champions Cup win, and something like that can maybe sometimes kind of boost and lift a team in a lot of different ways. But you have to wonder, like, we don't have an availability report yet. We're all praying that Midge Purse is on the mend and going to be available and will still be a key factor for this team throughout the remainder of Gotham's 2025. But those are the players, right, that you're looking for to try to get back into the mixer a bit and lead Gotham through what is a long season. And I think if you're Gotham, you're just maybe trying to manage this June, because you're going to get this break in July. Yeah. And you're going to maybe be able, if you're the coaching staff, be able to kind of manage some things on the back end and prepare for that second half run. So I think for Gotham, there's a couple of things. It's like you have to look at that opposition in front of you and say, yes, you want to give respect to your opponent. We all know that you can't necessarily look at teams 11, 12, 13, and 14 in this league and say that they're just a cakewalk. Even though on paper you want to say, hey, we should beat that team. That's not an unfair thing to say. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's how you show up on that day. So it's a lot's going to be dependent on how they prepped and again, who's going to be available on those sidelines.
Depending on how you prepped, and then thinking, guys, I'm from Utah, so I grew up playing in this dry ass state. There is no air. It's hard to breathe. Yeah. And I remember teams coming to play when I was in club in high school, how difficult it was for teams that aren't used to this level of elevation. And Jen, you got to play in Utah last year. Yeah. How big of a factor do you think that is for Gotham coming to Utah in the midst of everything Sandra just laminated on?
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, you're spot on. I remember coming and playing and just the dryness in your throat. It's really hard to compare that to anything. And I don't know if you ever get used to it. Darian, you can like say if you ever do get used to it. But I remember three places were always the hardest for me: Louisville, Orlando, and Utah. And Utah, it was the dryness in my throat that I remember even in the warm up, I was just looking over for like, can I have some
Just a
more
sip.
water? I just need something. So that'll always be the case. But I think that's whether you've experienced it or not, it's definitely spoken about. And I think at this point in the NWS, everyone's so aware of the different environmental changes that you might see when you're playing in different places, just part of the game here, which is so crazy to say. But it'll always come to impact. But I'm hoping, again, leaders in the team will prep people. I remember, I'll never forget looking at Emily Menges in the locker room and being like, is this normal? Like, is this not? And she's like,
ashy, mouth dry.
Worse than normal.
Oh my
and I was like,
goodness.
right, okay, if you feel bad, someone who's been in the league for numbers of years can look at the ones in year one and be like, yeah, this is insane. Then it just puts you like, okay, I feel fine now. So yeah. It's definitely a thing that's spoken about. It's so difficult to play in, but everyone's got to do it, right? But will that come into play? I hope not. I think there's enough people in the locker room at Gotham that can kind of put everyone at ease, knowing it's just everyone's got to do it. Everyone's got to go there and play at some point and experience those kind of conditions. But they do change the game, I'd say, a little bit.
It's interesting how we're chatting about this match a little bit. It makes me wonder what we're actually going to see. If it's and you know what? We took a poll, and the temperature is exactly that. It's open season, because in the poll, 50% of people think Gotham has enough and that they're going to take this, but 39% say maybe you can go the way of Utah, leaving 11% for a draw. So I do wonder if maybe all of the evenness of it all could maybe lend itself to a little bit of foreshadowing here. Do we have a prediction in this one? Has the poll swayed either of you in either way? What's your prediction for this one, Darian?
I like, guys, lucky number 11. I actually can see a draw happening. I'm going to say 1-1. I think Gotham, especially in the midst of everything going on, there's moments with the climate that they're going to be coming into where you need to sit back, you need to manage better coming off of a team that looks tired mid-season. And that's going to be difficult for Utah, in my opinion. But I do think maybe we'll see Utah put one away. So I'll say 1-1.
That's fair. How about you, Jake?
I think it'll depend who's fit. I think the lineup will be really interesting to see who starts, who's on the bench, who's recovered well enough from the game with players going off. I'm struggling with this one. I'm still going to go. I don't want to repeat a draw because Darian just said a draw.
You can be like me. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Come on over.
Okay, I might agree. Did you say 1-1? I might agree on a 1-1.
I think that's fair.
Tie. Yeah, a 1-1.
Right. I'll be the combo breaker. Right. I think this is gonna be narrow. I think Gotham, maybe they'll try some different stuff. Maybe Gotham needs to turn into a little bit of that suffering side, and maybe we'll see that on the road in a tough place to play like Utah. And maybe they'll pull it out. I'm gonna say 1-0 Gotham. This is gonna be the one. Maybe this will be the one that they get before the break. And speaking of breaks, we're gonna take one right now because we've got plenty more to chat about. Stick with us after a quick one. We're back at it, and we're chatting all things NWSL. Jen, I've got a question for you related to Bay FC, because we didn't get a chat about them a little bit as part of these Friday matches quite yet, but they're in an interesting. They find themselves in an interesting place with the halfway point of the season coming up in a week or two. Mm-hmm. They're 8th in the standings right now, which sort of has been where they've been hovering. Yeah. I don't know if they've done too much to sort of differentiate themselves otherwise. How big of an opportunity is this for them going up against Orlando Pride?
I think it's big. Don't get me wrong. Do I think Orlando are obviously not an easy team to go and beat, but I actually enjoyed watching Bay play. I thought Ashwala looked, back. She looked so sharp.
Yes.
I think it was her 4th start this season. So she's not had a lot of minutes. She's not had a lot of consistency. Don't get me wrong. The team has changed so much. The amount that Aberdeen rotates and changes, even Jordan Brewster going in there and starting, obviously it was unfortunate. She came off injured, but Oshwala, for me, watching the game, looked sharp, looked like she was hungry to go get it and go get a performance that she probably desperately needs for herself, right? And the team. And look, they will always look crazy on a counter. I thought their counter-attacking goal that led to Mallinson going 1-0 up just at the end of the first half was kind of BFC in a nutshell, I think, for me. I think it's so difficult to play possession-based football when you're rotating so much, and every 11 almost looks different every week. To have that connections with people week in, week out, if there's so many rotations, that is really difficult. But Oshwala, for me, having not played much, she looked sharp. She looked like she was getting to the ball first and second. Every scrappy possession that was lost, she would pick back up. And, okay, she would be a little bit disappointed with some of her strikes on goal, not necessarily hitting the target all the time, but she looked sharp. Do I think this is a game that BFC can go in and get 3 points? I'm not sure about that. But do I think Orlando are, they narrowly just won last week, so it's going to be really difficult. But BFC, for me, I'm not sure what you guys think of rotations and strongest 11 for them, what they actually need to do to get out of that 8th place that they're in at the minute. Not sure what your thoughts would be on that, Darian, in terms of strongest 11, rotations in general. What we're saying, it's hard to get consistency, right?
It's hard, especially with the style of play Albertine, it seems, wants them to play.
Exactly.
But I think you hit the nail on the head with Asisa Ashwala being back in the 9, getting touches. Her hold-up looked strong. She looked like she was hungry to score. There was inklings of confidence in her play that we've been missing to see. That's the Ashwala that I think came to the NWSL that she's lost a little bit of, and maybe her coaches lost that in her a little bit of. So to see that, I think that allowing her to be that player and giving her confidence to do so allows Kunda Nanji, Rachel Hill, everybody else around her talking to go and be themselves, as opposed to trying to make those players who are more up and down 1v1, I want to get in line wingers, hold up players. It's that just changes the way that this team, the chemistry you're trying to build with those rotations, it makes it so much slower. Yeah. So I think with Oswala being in, that's a huge key, especially against Orlando, who, if you can take out one of their defenders, to me, one of their center backs, and pull them out of position, that leaves huge gaps for some really speedy players around her to try to get in behind. So I think you're right. Orlando narrowly winning again. We're not seeing as many blowouts like we saw with Orlando last year. It's Bay's got a chance. Yeah, I do think Bay's got a chance. The favorites, absolutely not. But there's big opportunity after seeing Orlando's performance last week.
Darian, to your point, for Orlando, is this just who they are in 2025? Is this just who Orlando is going to be?
You know what? It might be, because last year, again, I hate to bring this player up, but Adriana, I think, just added such a different layer of how they played that I don't know if they've been able to do like for like, because of her ability to just kind of literally dance on the ball for a second, allow play to develop. It wasn't more transitional. I think Allie Watts had a really great season with Orlando when she's been able to get consistent minutes, but it's just different. There's not that added layer of the same level of patience that we saw last year that was killing teams. So I think this is who Orlando is this year. They're still going to be a top competitor. Are they going to score as many goals as last year? I don't really think so, because teams kind of have them figured out in that front. Not for 90 minutes, granted, but teams have learned how to adapt and shut them out. So yeah, I think there's opportunity if a team can put some away against them, but they still have, I think, one of the strongest back lines in the league.
For me, I think Bay FC is being a little bit haunted by who they were last year as well. It's just a little bit too inconsistent for me week to week for this team. And I don't know if I'm ready to crown someone as streakiest team in the league just yet, because we haven't reached the halfway point. But Bay FC are contenders in that category for me. So I think there's huge opportunities here for both teams going into this one. But if I had to make a prediction, I'm going to give this one to Orlando. And I think they're going to do it in the way in which they've been doing it all season. I think it's going to be narrow. I think they're getting this one 1-0. How about you guys?
Go on, Jen.
Oh, no. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I just going to copy another prediction again?
Do it.
You know what I think? I think I'm going to go with BFC on this one, because I think they can... Orlando, like what we're saying, haven't a team from last year. And I think BFC, if they keep a level of consistency, can still be such a threat on a counter-attack, regardless of who's on the pitch. Whether it's Rachel Hill, Kudananji, Hubley through the midfield, Ashwalo in the box, whoever's on the pitch can be a threat on a counter-attack. And I think when you're playing against a team that wants to be dominant in possession, leave a lot of the field open, tactically, BFC can get something out of this game, knowing that they're not a threat up top as what they were last season. I'm going 1-0 BFC.
I love it.
Wow. All right. Sandra kind of convinced me with the talking about Bay haunted. What did you say? Haunted by last season?
Yeah.
Who they were last season. Brilliantly said. I'm going to go 2-1 Orlando. It's not consistent. There's not enough consistency to convince me that they'll win, but I think we'll see enough. And I want Oshwala to get a goal. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Nice. I love it. We've got more games. Saturday is going to feature Chicago Stars versus Seattle Reign, KC Current versus Racing Louisville, and Angel City versus North Carolina Courage. When it comes to maybe biggest storylines out of this weekend, do we feel like maybe any of these teams among or across the Saturday matches are part of those narratives? I think there's a couple teams here that we're talking a lot about opportunities. There's a couple teams on this Saturday slate of games where maybe they are the ones that have the biggest opportunity in front of them. Darian, I think about Racing a lot at this point in the season and who they are and what they're doing. They've gotten 13 points in their last 6 matches. They are on the rise. They're surging. So are they the ones that are going to like maybe deliver an upset this weekend?
No.
Real.
I couldn't even try to play. Sorry, Racing Louisville. I think you're doing great. We love Debunez. Got friends on Louisville. You're not beating Kansas City Current. Yeah, there's just, I've been saying everybody's got a chance. I don't think that there's a chance. Talk about a team that's inconsistent. Louisville's been inconsistent. Yeah, they're on a streak, sure, but I think to take down a team like Kansas City Current, who have refined the way that they play this last season so much defensively, it's going to be tough. If you're looking to take them down, maybe it's on set pieces. That's a big opportunity for Louisville. But as far as run of play and shutting down Kansas City's starting 11 and their first 4 substitutions, I don't think it's in the cards. But maybe I'm being pessimistic. Jen, do you feel different? Can you convince me?
I see where your optimism is coming from, Sandra. Don't get me wrong, but like to go to the Current and that being there, I'm not seeing them getting something out of this game. If it was any other team in the league, I would totally feel your optimism.
Yeah.
But it's Kansas City, man. Away from home, that's tough. But let me hear more about your optimism, because your team Louisville at the minute. Let's hear it.
Yeah, Crystal Palace, Louisville.
If they're gonna beat the Current, how are they gonna do it?
Not to be my own Debbie Downer, because if there's anyone who is gonna have a short window of optimism, it's me. I'm definitely gonna be like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm more. It's not so much that I have the optimism for Louisville. It's just that I'm team chaos when it comes to this league, and maybe it's something. And also this is the opportunity. I'm sorry if you're Louisville. This does have to be that opportunity, because I think for me that's the other part of the equation for Louisville that's missing for me. I need to see what they've been doing against bona fide title contenders in this league. I don't want to see them have wild games against Utah. I don't want to see them put up a fight against the struggling Gotham. I want to see how they fare against what is the best team in the league right
You need
now.
a big, like, meaty win.
Yes, you need to have that statement game, and I don't feel like Louisville has quite had that just yet, even if they've had the 13 points through the 6 games. And listen, if you are tapped into my power rankings, I said this there. I've seen this movie before with Racing. They go off on a nice little stretch of games. They get ahead of the playoff line, and they do it at the exact wrong time of the season. So
Yep.
I do want to believe that this is the year for Louisville desperately. I want it for those players. I want it for Bev Yanez, but I got to see it. I got to see something against Kansas City. And you know what? We're not the only ones. The poll is split. They're 50-50 right now as far as will Racing Louisville make the playoffs or not, because people need to see a little bit more. They've been
That
just
cursed
outside.
9th place spot.
They've been just
Cursed.
outside years and years and years. So folks, respectfully want to see a little bit more in this one. As far as other games on Saturday, I would also argue that Angel City is a team that's got a lot of kind of storylines around them right now. They're speaking on the outside looking in. They're in 9th right now, heading into this match against North Carolina Courage, but it's only on goal differential, Darian. And maybe that says a little bit about where Angel City is right now. They've been producing some exciting soccer. And we know that they have the ability to score. But the fact that they are right now on the outside looking in, based on that differential, what do they need to do to turn it around?
Oof, get together defensively. This was actually the game this Saturday that I was like, oh, that's what I'm most looking forward to, because North Carolina, coming off of getting, destroyed by Washington Spirit when they had more chances, is really, really upsetting. So then to go to an Angel City who have dropped points, they're vulnerable in the back. There's opportunities to score. North Carolina has a very beautiful style of play. You don't know who's going to score it. They're kind of like a Portland team where, hey, anybody's going to get on the score sheet because they don't have just one player who's putting chances away. It's going to be a really good game. I think if they can shut down like a Riley Tiernan and Alyssa Thompson, the game's open for North Carolina, but they're still very vulnerable. So to me, this is the game that's very wide open. Both of these teams need the win, maybe North Carolina more so than Angel City right now, just from a confidence standpoint of, hey, we need to score goals, and this is the team that I think we can put these away against. I don't know. What do you guys think about this match? Is there more on the line for Angel City, or is there more on the line for North Carolina?
I think there's more for Angel City, in my opinion. I don't know about you, Jen.
I think both are expected to be higher in the ladder than they are right now, right? I think that's the harsh reality. So I think it's a pressure cooker for them both at the minute. I think Claire Emsley is a big miss for Angel City. Obviously, as a fellow Scot, I'm gonna rep her on that one. But I will say, it's probably been spoken about a lot already, but Manaka's goal for Courage.
Oof.
She is honestly one of my favorite players to watch in this league. And like, if you've got a player like her playing balls in the final third or getting on the end of them herself, you can create and score goals. So for me, they have to figure out a way to get her on the ball more, to be more effective, to break down Angel City's defense. But I agree with you, Darren. This is the one game I think I really want to be watching closely this weekend to see how both teams tackle it tactically, and because either team have to figure it out. Angel City being far too vulnerable defensively, they can't let players like Manaka be in space figuring out goals. So big game for both teams. Yeah,
I think these two teams also have a history of having kind of somewhat chaotic games against each other in the past. So I won't be surprised if this maybe turns out to be another one. But it's a bounce back game, in my opinion, for both of them, right? So we'll see what happens. Seattle and Chicago are going to go head to head this weekend. We just want to touch on that quickly before we bounce, because the chat is saying some things about Chicago a little bit. They're saying, hey, can we talk about it? Shout out to E-Man in the chat saying that they think Mia Fishel might come to Chicago. And listen, from your hopes to some real dreams, I think for Chicago, I would love to see it. And Paul Brown, shout out to you as well, because you're also asking a little bit about where Mia Fishel could end up on. I mean, some folks are already saying where they want her to go. Darren, do you have a spot for her?
You know what? I'm thinking of an Angel City.
Speaking of a team we were just talking about.
Yeah. So I don't know about Chicago, just because if you're coming from a team like Chelsea, I would think you want to go somewhere where, yes, you can have impact, but where it's going to feel just as professional and organized, I think, from the front office side and where the team's going. And I think Angel City is one of those teams where I'm coming from Chelsea. I went to school, I balled out at UCLA. Go Bruins, what's up? To me, Angel City is one of those, and also Bay. I think Mia Fishel is a California kid, and that's where I kind of see her. I think adding depth to that 9 position. We're talking about Asisa Ashwala, inconsistent, but yes, getting confidence. I'm wondering if she's going to stay on the West Coast.
Okay, I think that's fair. Listen, at this point, it's all flights from England, right? So like, who's going to do? And it's obvious the chatter is all about just like kind of a short term loan. So we'll definitely see. We'll have more to chat about that at a later episode. We're definitely going to have a show about season pickups, season moves, mid season transfers, and things like that. So make sure you're tapped into that, and make sure you're tapped into us, because we got the big game on CBS that we've got to chat about. Stay tuned after a quick break. The NWSL is back on CBS, and so are we, to chat all about it. We've got Portland Thorns FC versus Washington Spirit on CBS. And guess what? If you love Darian Jenkins on her analysis, don't you worry. She's going to give you more, because live in studio action is going to start at 3 p.m. Eastern, and Darian's going to be joined alongside Lisa Carlin to chat all about the pregame stuff for this game, and we're going to preview it a little bit. The Thorns, who are in 7th, are coming off of their first loss in 5 matches. We were talking a little bit about streaks there earlier, and now they're going to have a little bit of a potential, bounce back game of their own, and then they're going up against the Spirit, who are currently in 3rd. They've got 3 wins and 1 draw in their last 4 matches, so they are also doing some fun things. When it comes to the Thorns in this one, as they are the team maybe looking for the bounce back, Jen, how has a team like this, in your opinion, been able to stay in the top half of the table despite some of the challenges that they had to start this season?
Yeah, I think it goes to show you that, the big names might have been there last year, but it goes to show you the squad depth that they've got, that everyone's stepped up. And look, we talked about chemistry a lot for other teams, but Portland are a team for me that show chemistry. They show that they're on the right page with each other. I think Coffey in the midfield really drives the team. She's energy. She's learned so much from playing with unbelievable leaders going in previous seasons, and she's come out and said that in interviews multiple times. But no, I think the coaching's definitely there. Tactically, they seem sound. So for me, when everyone's learning and on the same page going into games, that shows. You don't necessarily need the big names to, win football matches. You just need players on the same page, working together and doing their absolute best. So, and look, I think they were quite unlucky against BFC, I will say. I thought they dominated a lot of possession, had some of the better chances. And I think it's those games that they'll look back on in the season and think, right, we should have got more out of that. But look, coming up against the Spirit is a really tough game. I think Spirit had their wobble, right? But they've found form. We spoke about injuries, but players coming back. Hirschfeld back in the side. Top player, absolutely loved watching her last season. If Portland let their midfield dominate the game, they will. And Portland have a good midfield. Sam Coffey drives it in the midfield. But if they allow Batoon, Hirschfeld to drive it from a Spirit perspective, it's going to be a really tough game for them. But no, I think Portland should still take confidence from their BFC game, even if they did lose. I think they were the better team, if I can say that. They just came away with nothing. So it's going into the likes of Spirit that they just have to, again, show up the way that they did and hope for a better result and put away chances. You can't create that many chances and not score in this league. You just can't. You have to take advantage of it.
Darian, Jen touched on this a little bit about the Spirits and their lengthy injury list. At this point, it's like they can almost start another starting 11 with the players that they have on the availability report. They are going through it, but they are getting players back into form and getting them in those lineup. Croy Bethune, Hal Hirschfeld among that. Is it going to come down to that middle third? And is maybe that an advantage for the Spirit in this game, considering, in my humble opinion, that they've got options in that middle third, including Rebecca Bernal? Where's she going to start in this game?
Ooh, we love Rebecca Bernal. She's been the X factor for me for Spirit this year as to why they've had so many injuries and have been able to overcome it, because she can plug and play and still be a leader no matter where she is on the pitch. So shout out to her. Yes, in the midfield, because I think it's going to be a matter of who denies service to who. Portland are fast. Alidu, Hanks, Linehan has her speed, but I think that those are players that I'm looking at. Really, Raylan Turner, who can turn around a Washington Spirit. And they looked vulnerable last week against North Carolina when North Carolina transitioned. They sent crosses in early. There are opportunities, but on the same end, when Spirit start to go, you've got Britt Ratcliffe, who is just balling out right now in this season, so fast up top for Spirit. We know it when it's not working. We know where wingers are going to be. Let's play it long and go at them. So I think both of these teams are going to have to deny service on either side. You're going to have to be so good at shutting down Olivia Moultrie, Sugita, Coffee, whoever's in the midfield from playing those balls forward, and same vice versa on the Spirit side, whether it's Hirschfeld, who her long balls have gotten so, I think, have improved a ton since last year, Bethune, who can thread a pass through literally anywhere. I think that's where the game is going to come down, but really finishing chances, like Jen said. I mean, last week, Portland had 16 shots and 5 on target and weren't able to score. You got to be clinical against a team like Spirit. I actually think this might be more of a high-scoring game from the ones that we've talked about.
I think that's what was so
actually
tough.
I like, because Jen said, what, 3-0?
Yo, 3-0 San Diego.
Yeah, let me take that back.
That's what was so tough for me, I think, coming out of that week 11, when I was looking at the different games and different results. I was like, God, when it comes to the sort of quote unquote bounce back games for certain teams in week 12, I gotta feel like the Thorns are maybe the ones that feel like that is the one of the games that got away from them against Bay FC, because they did.
Yeah.
They had the better stretches of play. They had the better amounts of opportunities, attempts on target in dangerous spaces. They looked like it was a classic, like the soccer gods are cruel type of game, where it's just like, it doesn't matter how good you're playing, you got to finish those chances or you're going to get cooked. And they didn't walk away with those 3 points. So I have to imagine that they are beyond motivated to try to make sure that they do walk away with something against a very good Spirit side. So I am looking for them to try to capitalize on those opportunities there. I am of the agreement that it is going to come down to the middle third, as you've already stated, Darian. But as far as like beyond the X's and O's for the players who have to have those breakout games, give me one player on each team that you think needs to be that dog to make sure that they get the win.
That dog.
Jen, you go first.
Ooh, okay. I love Hirschfeld. I think she's the player for Spirit. The huge player. To see her injured at the start of the season, I think she could have gone on to be MVP for Spirit, but she has to, exactly what she's been saying in the media as well. She wants to step up and become that player, and I think she's got it in her. I really do. So for me, Spirit Hirschfeld. Okay. She's the top one for me.
How about you, D?
I'm going to go Kaya Hanks. I think her 1v1 ability has been so good. She can get in behind. She can shoot from distance. She's going to want a couple of those chances back from last week. I'm putting my money on her. I actually think Portland can take this game. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Thorns. I'm with the unpopular picks this week.
No. Jen just with the casual. No.
Yeah.
You got Jen.
I'm going 2-0 Spirit for sure.
Oh,
riding high on the Spirit.
It's a shutout.
High. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Man, I can't lie. I am feeling the spirit in this one, but I don't think it'll be easy. I'm just very high on their acquisitions. I mean, outside of it now, I love what Gift Monday is doing for this team. Just relentless, casual, somehow going unmarked at this point. Just good movement. You know, that a player, everyone like wants to like highlight the fact that a player is wide open or gets unmarked. But why? Why are they getting there? It's because of their movement and their positioning and their awareness. And so I'm very high on Gift Monday for the Spirit. And I think they're high on themselves too. They're riding some confidence right now. So I'm going to go 2-1, but I'm going to go the way of the Spirit in this one. And everyone else can let us know how they're feeling, because we had a poll and sounds like they're also feeling the Spirit. 60% going with the Spirit to take this one, 20% for a draw, and 20% for the Thorns. So a little bit split, but in different ways. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we just make sure that it's a good match, because again, it is on CBS. You could tap in to Network TV and watch this show, Portland Thorns versus Washington Spirit. It's going to kick off at 4 p.m. Eastern. Darian Jenkins, Lisa Carlin are going to be live in studio starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. They're going to have all the goods for you. And that's a wrap for us here on Attacking Third. You love to hear it. You love to see it. We love to be here with you. Make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And thanks for being here. You can catch us on Sunday nights, June 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. I'll be back with Lisa Carlin and Aaron West to recap all things Week 12 in the NWSL. And we'll see you then. Thanks for being here, y'all.
Hey.